same agent, same prompt. In one repo, it renamed a function across 9 files and got everyone right. In the other, it edited the wrong file twice, then gave up. Same model, same version, nothing about the AI changed. The difference was the repo. So what does an agent actually do when it opens a codebase it's never seen? You already have an answer for that. It embedded my codebase chunks, vectors, a similarity search. For the most widely used coding agent, none of that exists. There is no index. Nothing was ever embedded. Here's the thing we all pictured: repo, chunker, embedding model, vector database, top K results. It isn't a simplification of that. It's a different design. The real answer sounds too simple to be true. Anthropic's own description. Claude Code navigates a codebase the way a software engineer would. It traverses the file system, reads files, uses Grep to find exactly what it needs, and follows references across the codebase. 3 tools do almost all of it. Glob to find candidate files by pattern, Grep to search inside them, read to pull one file into context. It globs for anything matching the name, 12 candidates. It greps inside them for the actual call sites, 4 hits. It reads one, and in that file it finds an import it didn't know about, pointing at a directory it hadn't looked in. And this is the part that matters. What it reads changes what it searches for next. It isn't retrieving, it's navigating. There's a loop: search, read, decide, search again, and every pass is informed by the last one. That's the whole mechanism. And the answer to the question in the title. So why would anyone give up semantic search? One word: staleness. Anthropic's own explanation: at large scale, embedding pipelines can't keep up with active engineering teams. By the time a developer queries the index, it reflects the codebase as it previously existed weeks, days, or even hours before. Think about what that means on a repo where 1,000 engineers commit. The index isn't describing your codebase. It's describing a photograph of your codebase taken at some point you don't control, and it gets more wrong every hour. Nobody reruns it. Grep is slower to reason with. It reads more tokens. But it is never wrong about what is in the file right now. On a codebase that changes hourly, freshness beats recall, and that is the entire trade. Except here's the problem with that story. Cursor does the exact opposite. And Cursor also works. Cursor builds a Merkle tree, a cryptographic hash of every file, plus hashes of every folder built from its children. Change one file, and only that file's hash changes. And every folder above it. Nothing else moves. So when it syncs, it walks only the branches where hashes differ. 50,000 files come down to roughly 3 megabytes of hashes. That one file gets rechunked, re-embedded, and the index is current again without touching the other 49,000. That's a real answer to staleness. Not a perfect one. The embedding still runs in the background, so there is a window where you're querying the past. But it's a window that closes on the next sync, not the next reindex. 2 serious teams looked at the same problem and shipped opposite architectures. Neither of them is wrong. Which should bother you. If 2 opposite designs both work, then the thing they disagree about isn't the thing that matters. And it isn't. Both of them solve finding. Neither solves the constraint that decides whether your agent succeeds. The context window is a budget, and every file it opens spends it. Not can it find the code. Can it still think once it has? An agent that finds all 40 relevant files and loads all 40 has not succeeded. It has filled its own working memory with material it can no longer reason across. Which is why Claude Code has subagents. A subagent is an isolated instance with its own context window. It takes a task, does the work, and returns only the final result to the parent. It might read 20 files. The parent never pays for the reading, it receives the conclusion. That's not a search feature, that's memory management. Retrieval was never the hard part. Deciding what not to keep is. Which brings us back to the 2 repos from the start. If the agent navigates by name and structure, then your file names and folder layout stop being a style preference. They're a retrieval interface. Grep finds what you named consistently. A folder called utils tells it nothing. A file called invoice retry inside a folder called billing tells it almost everything before it opens a single line. And CLAUDE.md files load additively the root file for the big picture, subdirectory files for local conventions. That's not documentation for the next human. That's the map the agent reads before it starts guessing. That's what was different between the two repos. Same model, same prompt. One of them had been made legible to a machine that navigates, the other hadn't, and no amount of context window fixes that. One number keeps this honest. Anthropic's own research says developers use AI in roughly 60% of their work but can fully delegate only 0 to 20% of tasks. That's from a predictions report. So treat it as their reading, not a measurement. But the shape is right. The agent navigates. It recovers from its own failures. It still doesn't own the architecture. That gap is the job. So next time an agent edits the wrong file, you'll know which half failed the search or the budget. The budget half is the one you control. That's the next video, what actually goes in the context window and what you're wasting it on. Subscribe if you want it.